the people, how you doing? So, well, it is finally time for us to take a look at the Oneplus 10 Pro. I must say, really looking forward to this one right here. And well, you know what, without any further ado, let's do the unboxing and then we can talk about the phone itself. And well, I'm gonna tell you right now, this box, it is snug as hell. Yeah, it took me a few business days to get it open, but I did eventually get to it. And immediately we are greeted by a box, and in there we have a case for the Oneplus 10 Pro, and this is a silicon one by the way, and along with that some paperwork as expected. And now then, the MVP for today, the Oneplus 10 Pro of course, and I did get the black version. As you can see, the green one was available and I was tempted towards it, trust me, but you know, the black one, it drew me in at the end. And I mean, what can I say, it's such a beautiful color, right? And just in case you're wondering, that finish, it is the exact same matte finish that we had last year with the Oneplus 9 Pro, which is to say, utterly, ridiculously fantastic. I mean, I'm a huge fan. I was a huge fan of the Oneplus 9 Pro's finish, and I am still a very big fan of it. Now then, we also have my arch nemesis, a pre-installed screen protector. I mean, it's good that OnePlus gives us one, but I ain't using it, so I'm gonna rip it right off. Again, I just want to make it clear, I'm not against screen protectors, I just don't happen to like them personally. And then up next, what has become basically a rare commodity is a charger, and this is not a regular charger. We have an 80-watt warp charger. That thing is fast. Like, yeah, you plug it in and you're almost gonna be done by the time you turn back. So it's a really good charger, and in this day and age where chargers are very excessively hard to come along, I mean, this is a fantastic thing to have. And then of course, along with that, we have the good old Oneplus Cable, red and white, and I mean, it looks as nice as always. I mean, it's always been a thing for Oneplus to send their red cables, and I'm all about it. So that was the unboxing experience. It was minimal but very elegant because of one major factor. You know, Oneplus just meets the expectations. Like, you know, any sane person with realistic expectations would expect a nice little case, a pre-installed screen protector, because, you know, unlike me, people actually feel they're useful, and you know, it is, I'm just unpractical in that manner. But now let's talk about this device, especially this delicious design. I mean, at this point, if you know me at all, you probably saw this coming. A design like this, yeah, it draws me all the way in, because I mean, look at it. It's bold, it's in your face, and I'm a huge fan of that. I think the more boisterous the camera module, the better I like it. It's just always been the case. You know, for example, the S21 Ultra, it had a pretty serious camera module, and huge fan of it. I think it was one of the best looking phones ever made. And then there's this one. This takes a lot of inspiration from Samsung, doesn't it? The S21 Ultra, and you know, inspiration from things that are certifiably really good. I'm all about that, you know, because they changed it up enough. We have this glossy camera module which really stands out, and it's just beautiful. I think it's amazing, and yes, it looks kind of like a stuff, I get it, but jokes aside, this is a good design from OnePlus, and I think it's definitely an upgrade of a design over the Oneplus 9 Pro. The finish, of course, it's perfect. I don't really have to say anything about that, but up front, there are literally zero changes. I mean, it's not like OnePlus needed to change anything yet. We have a punch hole design. I would have maybe liked it in the center, but it's hardly a complaint at this point. You know, we have a punch hole design, is there, we've all gotten used to it, and yes, I will always stick by the fact that it is better than a notch. Just my opinion out there. But yeah, design, I think, is looking great. Now on the display side of things, there aren't any major upgrades. Kind of disappointed, because I really hoped to see OnePlus upgrade the brightness. So far as I've seen, based on the specs, it's about 1300 nits of peak brightness, and it's obviously not bad. Like, you're not gonna run into any major problems, obviously not, but at this point in this day and age, there are multiple flagships out there that have surpassed 1500 nits. Like, we have 1700 and 1750 nits of peak brightness smartphones at this very moment, and I think that's a pretty big deal, and that is a pretty major difference. And especially when you're out in daylight, the difference in visibility is definitely there. And I haven't even used this, but I can guarantee it is going to be there, because I could see the difference between 1500 nits and the 1300 nits last year. I'm definitely gonna see the difference between 1300 and 1750 nits worth of brightness this year. So it's not bad. I mean, it has all the other bells and whistles, variable 120Hz, 1440p. You can use both of them together. I mean, at this point, almost every single smartphone can do that, so it's hardly a major feature, but it's there, pretty nice. And then of course we have 10-bit color, HDR, HDR10 Plus. Now one thing that I expect from the OnePlus 10 Pro is that they have improved on the colors that we get in HDR, or rather the contrast, because last year I distinctly remember feeling like the OnePlus 9 Pro's display was in general very good, very vibrant, as you'd expect. This is a flagship display after all, but on the OnePlus 9 Pro, I do remember that the HDR felt a little flat. I'm gonna of course talk about it in the review, and I haven't exactly seen any HDR content yet, but I hope that they have improved on that. Now, specs, I mean, it's top of the line. We have the Snapdragon 8 Gen 1 right here, and yes, if you saw the S22 Ultra review, I messed up, alright? Forgive me. But yeah, we have the same chipset on both the S22 Ultra in India and the OnePlus 10 Pro everywhere. I wish we had the Snapdragon Gen 1 on the S22 Ultra everywhere. It would just negate all the confusion now, wouldn't it? But anyways, that's beside the point, I digress. Yeah, so I don't think performance is obviously going to be a problem. And battery, on the other hand, we have 5000 mAh, so that is an upgrade. 500 mAh worth of upgrade compared to last year, and I am hoping that we're going to see an improvement here. I would say that, and this is just a very blatant prediction based on how OnePlus phones work, but I think that with similar capacities, the OnePlus 10 Pro's battery might just be capable of edging out the S22 Ultra. Now do keep in mind, the S22 has a brighter, larger display as well, but yeah, it's a prediction. We'll see if it comes true, of course, in the review. I think now let's talk about this big old camera module, or the cameras themselves, because we already talked about the module, and my thoughts about that. So yeah, the camera, it's not changed too much. So you might look at it on the spec sheet, and you're gonna feel like there's not much of an upgrade, but there are changes. Now, how much of that is an upgrade? It's kind of debatable, I think. I'll let you know in a moment why I think that. The main camera, of course, is very similar to last year, 48 megapixels, f1.8. So yeah, it's gonna let in a lot of light, and I don't think we're gonna see any major differences other than on the processing side of things. I sincerely hope that OnePlus improved on the processing, at least it sounded like they did. So I'm genuinely hoping that human subjects and selfies, portraits, all of that in general has seen a major improvement, because let's be honest, OnePlus needed that. We'll of course find out in the camera comparisons, which are going to come out really soon. Now, a pretty major change is in the ultra-wide camera. On the spec sheet, you'll see just 50 megapixels and that's about it, but you'll also notice that we have a 150-degree field of view. Basically, it's a fisheye sort of lens, and yes, if you use 150 degrees, you're gonna get a lot of distortion. I mean, to be honest, it almost looks stylized and artistic, in a manner of speaking, if that's something you like. This is gonna be very interesting for you. Now, of course, there are downsides to having such a wide field of view, because that amount of distortion that we see quite often, it's gonna make it quite problematic to use on a daily basis. So you have to crop in to get normal ultra-wide shots, and we all know how detrimental cropping in on ultra-wide shots can be. Now, along with that, there is another weird little thing that I noticed. So I just, opened the camera app, I went to video, and I noticed that in 8K, we cannot use the ultra-wide camera anymore. I can hardly express how sad I am. I'm still in grieving with the fact that we cannot use ultra-wide 8K on the OnePlus 10 Pro anymore. This is, I think, a downgrade. Honestly speaking, I'm not sure what exactly caused this. Maybe it's the fact that we have such a wide field of view on the ultra-wide that it causes issues with 8K. But regardless of all that, I think it's just sad that we cannot use 8K. Anyways, moving on, we have our zoom camera. This is still an 8 megapixel camera at 3.3x zoom for some odd reason, but yeah, I still don't understand why in a flagship from OnePlus we still have to make do with an 8 megapixel camera. And the major reason is not just, oh, it's a low megapixel count, but I mean, the sensor itself isn't exactly super high quality. Like, we have 3x zoom cameras that are amazing. Take the iPhone 13 Pro for example. That's an amazing telephoto camera on that, but on the OnePlus 10 Pro, that's not entirely the case, now is it? But the biggest problem is that you cannot zoom in with 4K video. You have to use digital zoom, which is, needless to say, not a good idea. And you cannot use the telephoto camera, which is very sad. Like, 4K is at this point the bare minimum if you want good quality video. Dropping down to 1080p just so you can zoom in instead of cropping in on 4K, it's kind of debatable, and it's not exactly nice to see on what is otherwise shaping up to be quite a nice looking flagship. Now, I know I'm complaining about the cameras here and there a little, I'm disappointed about not having 8K ultra wide, and the fact that we didn't get an upgrade on the zoom camera, it does not feel good to me, of course. And along with that, we still, like, in the name of God, I don't understand why, but we still cannot use 3x zoom in portraits. It's still 2x digital zoom on the main camera, and I think you all know and understand very well why even an 8 megapixel camera having telephoto zoom would perform better than 2x zoom on the main camera. We all understand that, and I don't know why we don't get that feature. I'm just, talking about all this based off the specs, and I have no real idea about how the real world performance is gonna be. So I'm gonna reserve all my camera judgments on that, after we get through all of that, compare the OnePlus 2, the S22 Ultra, the iPhone, and I'm also going to compare the OnePlus 2, the Mi 11 Ultra, and the X70 Pro Plus from last year, because those were incredible flagships, and I think they deserve a chance to compete with the new shiny flagship from OnePlus after all. That 8K ultra wide, I just cannot get over it. Like, how do you guys feel? Like, do you feel like not having 8K ultra wide is going to affect you at all, or how you feel about the fact that we're losing such an amazing feature? Let me know in the comments, of course. And obviously, if you did enjoy this video, hit the like and subscribe if you haven't already. I'll be seeing you guys soon enough. Cheers.